All right, so welcome to another comic review from a book sent to me by my friend Chris. Thank you as always, brother. Um, and today we're going to be doing another comic I kind of blew right through. A, because I wanted to read it, and B, it's kind of apt because this is spooky season. I unfortunately didn't have a lot to talk about with Let This Be a Devil yesterday, and I kind of blew through this pretty fast. As you can see, it's Blade Prodigal Son. Blade Prodigal Son is by Brian Hill, part of his Blade run. I guess you could say it's a Blade Runner. That was awful. It was so awful. But yeah, Brian Hill did a short-lived Blade series that really ended abruptly. That was my problem with it, is that while it was interesting with the whole Mother of Evil thing, it really had a lot of flaws with it, probably because Marvel wrapped it up too fast. So this is I guess you could say the continuation of it. And as you can see, this is a Red Band comic, so I will not be showing you a lot in here. But yeah, Blade Prodigal Son is also dealing with the aftermath of the vampire event by Jed McKay. Jesus, why am I forgetting the name? That's in that event, as you guys remember, Blade was possessed by Varney, the first vampire. And after that, Blade took off. Like, he went off to go hide in Southeast Asia to, like, find himself again, and also, like, leave his daughter Bloodline to kind of, like, carry the torch for the future of vampire hunting. Well, in the immortal words of Michael Corleone, just when I think I'm out, they pulled me back in. Because sure enough, Blade is thrown back into the world of vampire hunting when a group called one moment, I forgot the name. It was something like Spell Guard. A group called the Spell Guard have basically said, hey, we know who you are, Eric Brooks. We know your Blade. We know what happened with Varney. So here's what we want you to do for us. There's this vampire named Pontius Van Helsing. He is a member of the Van Helsing family. And we want you to go kill him, because he's got a very powerful spell book and we want it back. And Blade is like, no, I'm not doing it. Well, you're doing it. Okay, I'm doing it. And along the way, Blade encounters a woman named Elena, who is cybernetically enhanced after a vampire attack. The two make a begrudging friendship in order to find Pontius, who has his own schemes for the book. The book, I will hand this, is that much like in his first Blade run, Brian Hill does things a little differently. Like, he does handle things a bit differently from most comic. From what you think this comic is going to go, it goes in a different direction. But at the same time, I feel like this comic is kind of undercut because it's a 5-issue miniseries, and just when the story starts to happen, like we're starting to get the story as a whole, the comic stops. Like, it ends right there. So I don't know if we even are getting another miniseries, but yeah, just as the story was starting to form and we find more about Pontius. Every time I say Pontius, I can't help but think of Pontius from Jackass. I can't help it. But yeah, Pontius Van Helsing and his whole story, but it immediately ends and we find out more about the Spell Guard. Because I want you to look at this real fast. I want you to look at one of the envoys, the Spell Guard, real fast. Yes, this guy is completely trustworthy. A group that has people like that in it are very trustworthy people, obviously. So, but like I said, the comic ends right as the story was just starting to happen. And I feel like, again, it was meant to be ongoing, but now it got offed, so we'll see what happens with that. The comic is violent. This earned the Red Band. To a T. There are some really grotesque moments in here, but really, you kind of need that for a Blade comic. Elena is an okay partner. She's all right, but she's nothing really that makes you go, wow, what an interesting character. I can't wait to read more of her. It doesn't really go anywhere with her. It just feels like we needed a feisty sidekick for Blade, and that was really what we got out of it, was more or less that. The comic is the comic's okay. Like I said, the biggest flaw with this book is that it just, right as the story was starting to form after 3 issues of like trying to find Pontius, and now we find out who Pontius is, and we find the obviously also bad guy Spellguard and what they're up to, comic ends. So we'll see if it's worth it if we ever get like a continuation, which I imagine we will. I'll check that out, but yeah, Brian Hill's Blade is always good. I just feel like, again, it's that same problem I had, and it's not his fault. It's more along the lines of Marvel just cutting him off at the knees every time. But yeah, this just ended too abruptly, and also, there's no deep story. It's just like, look how bloody Blade is. Like, look how violent this Blade comic is. Isn't it cool? Isn't the violence cool? Yeah, but violence don't mean anything unless you got a story to it. Yeah. All in all, there you go. If you are a Blade fan and you like Brian Hill's first 2 volumes, I'd say give it a look. But it also doesn't really do much for like talking about Blade's trauma of being possessed by Varney. It just kind of glosses over it. That was another thing that bothered me. But anyway, Chris, thank you as always for the comic as well as the others. And yeah, if you read this, let me know in the comments below what you guys thought of it. Other than that, I'm Mr. Multiverse. I'll see you next time, Multiverse.